Today, the President signed the 2016 General Appropriations Act of $3.002 trillion. It provides government the resources to sustain economic growth and reduce poverty incidence. Government spending is a key driver for the economy to maintain current pace of growth. Joining us tonight on NewsLife is Mr. Sergio Ortiz, the Chairman Emeritus of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Good evening, sir, and welcome to NewsLife.
Good evening,
Yes, sir. You know, the public has always been clamoring for a higher budget for infrastructure development, and for the longest time, people have always been waiting for developments in their specific regions. Given that this new budget allocated to the country is 5% of GDP next year, I mean, how much of a boost will this give our economy?
Well, if the absorptive capacity and if the record of the administration in spending the budget and not ending like its savings will improve, it will certainly boost our economy. The other thing that you probably have to consider is 6 months from now, there will be another government, and they probably do not have the same program that the present government has. So I think if the budget is in such a way that will tally with the programs or trust of the whoever would be the next president, I think it would be nice. But and for instance, from our part, as you have mentioned, the infrastructure is, we're not exactly happy with the way PPP has moved. No, there's been a lot of projects that would have been on the finishing stage now, but actually are just being sent to the mill now at this point of time. I think there were only 3 PPPs that has been okayed, and I think they're exempted from the bidding, the PPPs, the infrastructure. So our regret from the business sector is there seems to be no much budget, in spite of the fact that that the trust of the APEC has been SMEs. We don't really find enough in the budget to be able to move the SMEs. We are actually saying that DTI, which is supposed to be the one who should take care of the investment and the SMEs, is one of the smallest budget. I think the budget of DTI is in the vicinity of about less than 3 billion. Less than 4 billion. 2 years ago it was 3.2. I don't know if it's 3.7 now. That is not even 5% of what we spend for CCT, which is really a long-term program for education. But yet DTI is the one that is tasked to be able to increase investment and to be able to create additional firms or grow some additional firms from SMEs to big ones. Remember, 99.6% of our enterprises are MSMEs, and I don't see any real budget being put into it.
I see. Right now, there's a lot of attention being given to TESDA and how we're putting budget into TESDA so that we can develop skilled workers, so that we can export more labor and we can provide more skilled workers in our country. I mean, is this actually, do you think we can actually continue this kind of a program when the next president comes and sits in?
Well, definitely technical skills training is needed. But when you do it in the manner of TESDA, you can only do so much. You can only train so much. No? What is important is you empower the SMEs themselves to be able to be the one to hire or to train or to partner with TESDA or whatever educational system we have, so that they can really create employment. Remember, we have one of the lowest foreign direct investment coming in. And we are what, in the tail end of the ASEAN 6, and we have also been I think, the slowest in lending to SMEs. Our SMEs are underbanked. In the ASEAN region, I think we're the most underbanked. And yet, we all know the reason is that we are using the same formula over and over again. I mean, using the banks, the GFIs, the central bank, to come up with programs that should be able to push finances to MSMEs. But it's not working. We even passed a law called Magna Carta for MSME. It's also in the doldrum now. And so I think we have to think out of the box. And maybe we were saying, maybe assign some 20 billion for lending to MSMEs because they're having difficulty accessing credit. It might not have the same repayment capacity of 95-97% that is required by the BSP for prudential measure on the regular bank. So let it be maybe 70-75% collection, but it will create jobs. And like CCT, which does not repay anything because it's a long-term program for education, and you spend 65 billion for that. Why not spend some 20 billion and take a risk? Lend to the small MSMEs and let them create the job. Maybe one of the rationale for them to be lent condition is that they employ a certain number of people. And the judgment whether this agency that will be created, that will lend out the money, will not be on the repayment capacity, but on the job generation capacity.
Actually, I agree with you on that, no? It's actually to move the economy, you really need to move the small businesses, the micro businesses. Because even though there are a lot of opportunities available, not everyone is seeking those particular opportunities. And given like where we are going right now with the K-12 program for education, wherein we're targeting technical skills, vocational skills, and also science and math, how do you think this new program will also affect our upcoming economy?
They're all positive, except that what we're saying is if we're talking about 96.7%, 99.6% of your enterprises being MSME, it will not even scratch the surface. And for our country to grow, you have to push the MSME to meet the growth. The history of growth in our area, the new tiger economies, talking about Thailand, Malaysia, they all grew in the vicinity of 8% to 10% per annum for a period of about 8 years. We are in a boom-bust cycle. We have now a growth, how many semesters that we have been growing, but then we're down to less than 6 again, no? So it's not. So the thing is, in a developing economy, to be a target economy, the rich become richer, because the producer of the GDP are the less than 1% of the economy, and but the employer, about 80% of employment is MSME, but the one that produces are the big ones. So why not empower the small ones so that they don't have to wait for the trickle down effect from the big ones, and meet them by giving them financing that is really needed.
Yes, sir. That should be something nice to expect next year. A lot of people are a little bit worried, no? Because according to Secretary Butch Abad, the budget for the previous years was 1.5 billion, and now it's going to be 3 billion. It's one of the largest budgets ever released to the Philippine economy. I mean, what safeguards are being set here so that there are no abuses to this budget, so that it really goes to infrastructure development, where this budget has really been designed and planned to be used for?
Well, as I said, anyway, I have not seen a time where the budget became smaller. No? So it's always the biggest ever, every year. Every budget time, it's the biggest ever. But this 3 trillion is really overwhelming. And as I said, the capacity of the government to be able to absorb this kind of budget has not been demonstrated. And in 6 months' time, another government will come in. We don't know whether they can make use of this budget.
I see. May we have a final word from you, sir?
Well, we just finished our APEC summit here, and our team that we pushed to the APEC is MSME. I hope that the budget will be able to address the MSME.
I see. Thank you very much for coming over, Mr. Sergio Ortiz Luis.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your presence here. That was Mr. Sergio Ortiz Luis, Chairman Emeritus of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce.